Hi, I'm Dr. Natiya, and these are my kids. And today we're talking about environmental medicine with a focus on avoiding toxins where we can. And as you can see, our home is a really important place to avoid toxins. And we're going to share a bit of our life and the way that we avoid toxins and toxicants from the environment by avoiding them in the first place. Hi, Grace. So what is one way that we avoid toxins?
Well, when you work out a lot, you tend to work up a sweat. When you work up a sweat, you sweat out all the toxins in your body.
That's true. That is a wonderful way to detox toxicants from the environment. Sweating is amazing. We have a very active athletic family. So we have a whole section on how to remove toxins from your body. But one way that we avoid them in the first place, and Grace knows all about this, is we use skincare products that are organic and don't include any toxic ingredients. So lotions, salve, which was created for Grace, from my company, Deep Living, but we have other companies that we really love and work with as well. So I'll be talking about these. And Trey, what's another way that we avoid toxins?
By filtering water.
We filter our water. Yes, we do. Come over here. I'm going to show everyone our filter. So we have a Brita filter and we have a Berkey filter. And they work a little bit differently. And the Berkey is one of the best filters on the market. So the reason we love this one so much is it removes lead, arsenic, metals, and even helps remove fluoride. Now, fluoride is great for protecting our teeth, but it's not good for our brains. So we don't want to absorb it in our water. So we filter our water and we also drink a lot of water. So my kids did a wonderful job of introing the importance of avoidance in healing from and avoiding environmental toxins. So one of my favorite resources to use is the Clinical Environmental Medicine by Drs. Crinian and Pizzorno. And Dr. Pizzorno is one of the founders of my medical school, Bastyr, Naturopathic Medical School. And these doctors share many different ways to heal from environmental toxins and toxicants, which are generally chemicals rather than natural toxins. But what they stress over and over is it isn't just about what are the things we can take and do to heal from the toxins that are in our bodies, but one of the most important tools is to avoid toxins in the first place. Well, easier said than done, right? Take a look at our kitchen and all of these products that I brought out to share with you today and to discuss. And something I noticed, and I was a little bit embarrassed by this, is so many of these products, which are products I'm going to share with you because I like them, so many of them are in plastic bottles. And some of those are BPA free, but that doesn't mean they're BPB free. They're also still not good for the environment, even if they're not leaching BPAs and other types of plastics into our systems, causing endocrine disruption, increasing the risk of cancer. So as Drs. Crinian and Dr. Pizzorno made very clear, there are multiple ways to heal from the toxins in our environment. And when I talk about environmental medicine and the toxins in our environment, keep in mind that the environment can also be very healing to us, right? We need sunlight, we need electrolytes, we need positive and negative ions, we need to walk in the earth, we need clean oxygen. All of those things are very good for us. So when we talk about environmental medicine, in this case, we're talking about when there are issues in the environment, often created by humans, that are not good for our health. So the topic of this video is avoidance. If we can avoid ingesting toxins in the first place, we absolutely want to do that. Treating is the next choice. And of course, we always need to do both because we can't fully avoid toxins in our life. Look at all of the plastic that is in my house, and these are products that I actually really like. So we'll talk about how to detox from what could be leaching in to your supplements, food, home care products, skincare products. But how can we protect ourselves in the first place? Well, looking around this scene right now, I'll give you a few ideas. One of my favorite ways to clean the air, removing metals, molds, particulate matter, are plants. Here I have orchids, tulips, ferns. Snake plants are a wonderful option. They can remove up to 70%, even more, of certain contaminants in the air. And you can read more about this in the environmental medicine book, or look at highly reputable sources online like PubMed and NIH. Always looking at a Cochrane reviewed set of papers is a great idea, because they review multiple research studies together, so you can really trust the information that you're finding. So my son Trey mentioned another way that we can avoid toxins, and that's by drinking very clean water. We now live in St. Louis, Missouri, where the amount of pesticides and herbicides in our water is much higher than most other parts of the country. It is very important that we filter all of our water, and that we even consider filtering it twice. Some other ways to avoid toxicants in the first place is by looking at what you use on a regular basis and what are the ingredients in it. We try to use organic toothpaste that is fluoride free. My kids love this, so you can consider this for yourself, your patients, pediatric or adults. We also really like hair, skin, and personal care products that are housed in glass and that contain only organic ingredients. So that doesn't mean you can always read every ingredient. Sometimes organic ingredients will sound like they're bad. And that's why having tools like the Environmental Working Group or the Yucca app to help you navigate what are these ingredients and are these good for me or not can be very helpful. So in Mael, for example, a hair serum, everything in this is organic. But if you saw the word urticadoica, that might not sound organic to you. Well, it's actually just a nettle. You can have that in tea. And this is a superfood cleanser with kale, green tea, spinach, and vitamins. Our lotions from Deep Living, all organic, all vegan, and all housed in glass or bamboo with very little plastic lining. And tins are a wonderful option. These are aluminum, but stainless steel is my first choice. Now, staying on the idea of skincare, another way to support avoiding toxins is by doing things for your body that help you have a stronger barrier. So we'll talk about tools like gua sha for increasing circulation and helping move out toxins. But what about before the toxins even get there? Using really good ingredients and lotions that are healing and supportive and create a barrier for your skin, protecting it from the environment, are a wonderful option. Also considering products that have probiotics in them, especially for your skin. Another way to protect the skin barrier is to use an oil-based product. We do this a lot in the middle of summer, and here in Missouri where it snows, we do this a lot in the winter. I'm originally from California, so that's where we need this product more in the summer. But so, an oil-based stick that is all organic ingredients is very protective for the lips, the eyes. I've had people use this when they're going skiing so they don't get chapped skin. Very protective, and it's all organic ingredients. Now, something that's a popular alternative is Vaseline, which has petroleum in it. There are a lot of side effects of petroleum. We didn't know that decades ago, and that's why so many of the popular brands still have it in them. It hasn't been removed yet, but that is an ingredient in gasoline. It's very toxic to the body, causes inflammation, and has been linked to possibly increasing the risk of cancer. So we want to find barrier protecting skincare that does not contain petroleum, parabens, phthalates, ingredients like that. Also avoiding fragrance that is chemical based, such as perfume, when you can, is very important. That is a known endocrine disruptor. And as you know, endocrine disruption means that these ingredients change how your body utilizes and makes the hormones all the way from your hypothalamic to your pituitary, to your thyroid, adrenal glands, into your sex organs, and they all affect each other. So the less endocrine disrupting ingredients in our bodies, the better. So let's try to avoid those in the first place. I don't have this one on me currently. I need to order it, but I love organic shampoo and conditioner as well. Oway is one of my favorite brands. And make sure to take a look at my product recommendation sheet for personal care products so that you know my favorites in lots of different categories. Really take the guessing work and some of that research out of the equation for you. So let's see if Dr. Crinion and Dr. Pizzorno have any other ideas for us on avoiding contaminants and toxins from the environment. I mentioned air. So our plants are extremely helpful, so are air purifiers. And when the air is very, very dirty, like when we just had the LA fires, which is where I'm from, using masks, using hats that protect from particulate matter falling onto the face, sunglasses, avoiding that. Particulate matter coming into the eyes and nose, very helpful as well. Also using sprays, antibacterial, antiviral sprays on the nose can help stop those from coming into the body in the first place. And one other area I'd like to talk about briefly is just food. Avoidance of commercial varieties of the most toxic fruits and vegetables. So you've heard me talk about the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So that is a wonderful guide for, hey, when do I really need to use organic and when can I cheat and purchase fruits and vegetables that aren't organic? And as I mentioned, there's a couple that I'm a real stickler about, and those are strawberries and soybeans. So strawberries are at the very top of the Dirty Dozen list. They are sprayed very highly with pesticides and herbicides such as atrazine and glyphosate in order to keep the bugs off them. The bugs love strawberries too. So I only buy them when they're in season and they're organic, and I freeze them so we can have them for smoothies throughout the year. I don't ever get them when they're not organic. Same thing with soybeans. They are highly sprayed. It's very important that they're organic, or the amount of toxic exposures and ingestion from soybeans really offsets the wonderful benefits you're getting from the isoflavones and the protein and the estrogenic factors. So another topic around food that I love to discuss, you'll often hear, do the Mediterranean diet. Look at what people in the blue zones are doing. And there's a couple of themes with diets that really work for most people. We don't all feel best on a particular diet. Some people need more meat. They genetically have less ability to use B12 and need more of it, or B9. Other people do much better with a vegan diet. Others a Mediterranean, as I mentioned, high in healthy fats. And with the blue zones, what I noticed most of all are two things. People slow down and focus on community and resting, getting into that parasympathetic state, rest and digest while they're eating. So the community and relaxation component of eating, not eating over computers and rushing. And also, and this is one I learned from my grandma, not from medical school, is eat more from the earth and less from a box. So if there's one thing that you can suggest for yourself, your family, or your patients, if they're feeling overwhelmed by making lots of changes in their lives to feel better, is can you simply, when you go to the store, can you try to get more fresh things and less things out of a box. Make your basket look really pretty. Fruits, vegetables, fresh grains, and nuts and berries, and proteins such as beans and seeds. So thank you for sticking with me and listening to this portion on avoidance. Let's use less toxic ingredients where we can, but since we do have good supplements, good foods that are housed in containers that provide some toxicants, unfortunately, we live in environments where we can't help but breathe the air and drink the water and experience the world around us. So we will have some toxic exposure, but let's avoid it where we can and limit the burden on our bodies. Hi, I'm Dr. Natiya Gwynn, and welcome to the second section on environmental medicine. So the first section focused on avoidance. Let's keep toxins out of our bodies and out of our homes when we can. But what happens when we can't help but be affected by the world around us? We want to learn how to detoxify our bodies the best we can so that we can feel our best and avoid acute and especially chronic illness conditions associated with high toxic burden in our bodies. So Grace, what are a couple of products that you like that help you detoxify your body?
Well, I like, in the beginning of the day, I like the Nordic gummies and the Deep Living Balanced Within supplements. And then at night, I like to take the magnesium gummies.
Thank you so much. So these are our products in our home, and as I mentioned, many of them are in plastic, which I wish was different, but we buy glass and stainless steel and bamboo whenever we can. And we also, even these products that are in plastic, we try to reuse them. We use a lot of these big tubs to fill with toys and different things, and we keep them out of the heat. That is a really important way to have less leaching from the plastic when you keep these out of the heat. So Grace mentioned her Nordic Natural gummies. All of my kids love these. So the flavor's fantastic, and adults like these too. So it's an important note about vitamins is, of course, we want to get most of our vitamins in our food, but many of us need more vitamins than we're getting in our food. And if we don't have perfect digestive systems that absorb all of our nutrients really well, then we need even more. And if, like us, you moved from California to Missouri and we're in a place where now the weather changes all the time, we need more immune support as well. So Nordic berries are fantastic. Their B12 is cyano rather than methyl, and I prefer methyl. So I also give my kids B12 drops that are methylcobalamin in their smoothies or juice to make sure they're getting enough B12. Great supplement. So there's methyl B12 in my supplement, Balanced Within, and you'll see Grace put her name on it so that the rest of us don't steal hers. We all feel better when we take these, and yes, I'm biased. These are from my own company, but I chose this formulation because we feel so much better when we have these multivitamin ingredients plus the antioxidants from berries, broccoli, quercetin, grape powder, in addition to the more common multivitamin ingredients that you've heard of, such as vitamin A, D, the multi-Bs, from biotin to pantothenic acid to folate to B12 and to vitamin C. You'll also see manganese, chromium, and molybdenum in this formulation, and they are all fabulous at helping cleanse the liver. Additionally, there is selenium, which is really important for thyroid health. And with the amount of endocrine disrupting ingredients in so many products and in our water source, it's very important that we put extra focus into healing and protecting our thyroids. Another way we can do that is these. Grace, what are these?
Those are Brazil nuts.
Yes, so 2 Brazil nuts a day gives an adult the ideal amount of selenium to protect their thyroid, in addition to its other benefits. Now, speaking of endocrine support, there are quite a few herbs in addition to bioidenticals to support when hormones go haywire. But it's really important to look at, why did they get offset in the first place? Was there an environmental factor or a number of environmental factors, such as a really high exposure to endocrine disrupting ingredients over the years, such as perfume and pharmaceuticals, skincare products that are high in metals and parabens and phthalates, things like that? If so, that's a whole nother lecture on what are the things we can do to support our female hormones and male hormones as well. But one of my favorites is maca. This helps balance estrogen, often raising it slightly, and also really great for testosterone. So women and men love maca for its adaptogenic effects. It's high in fiber, amino acids, minerals, and vitamins, and it increases your strength and vitality. So a huge fan of this. Now back to Grace's vitamins for a moment. This one she takes at night, and I take a similar one. It's magnesium. This is magnesium citrate, and it also has Bacillus subtilis probiotic in it. So not everyone needs to take probiotics every day, but many people have an offset of their microbiome, and they have a much higher amount of bad bacteria or commensal bacteria that's gotten way too high. And that makes it so we can't absorb our nutrients. And what do toxins from the environment do? They offset that balance even more. So taking a good probiotic and also getting it in your fresh food is very helpful. So Grace takes this, I take this or something similar. And again, it helps with rest, it helps with muscle recovery, and keeps your digestion regular, which is so important for detoxifying the body. So it is a really important point to always make sure that you are focusing on digestion and making sure that food can get through the body and be absorbed by the body and leave the body appropriately before looking into all the supplements and things that you can be taking. It only works if our system is moving. So always think about that for yourself, your family, and your patients, is we need to know that digestion is working and we're not keeping toxins locked in the body. All right, so we like a gummy, we like a capsule, we like another gummy at night, and you feel great, right? Me too. Thank you, Gracie. So I'm going to talk about a few other ways that we can detoxify the body. And some of them are fun, like including fun, pretty ingredients in your cashew butter. This cashew butter is blue because it has spirulina in it. Spirulina can be blue, it can be green. It comes from the ocean and is wonderful at cleansing the body. It has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. And there's research that shows that it helps with the effects of EMFs, which so many of us are affected by electromagnetic frequencies, from cell phone towers to driving battery operated cars to the electrical poles all over the place, and the changes in the amount of electrical currents used all over the world and even above us in our atmosphere. So spirulina, I keep this in the rotation in the form of powder for smoothies and water, have it in our butters. Similar to spirulina is chlorella. So you'll hear about chlorophyll as well, but I like to use chlorella, even though they are very similar. Chlorella still has B12 in it, and absorbable B12. So this is really important for our vegans and vegetarians. Chlorella is a great way to subsidize your B12 absorbance. And this is another fun one because it's pretty, and I noticed that I feel better. I feel less brain fog, more energy, less inflamed shortly after drinking this. I give this to everyone who comes on my retreats, and I have another tool here that also makes me feel as good as this does, and it is cider vinegar. So the acid in apple cider vinegar is very healing to the liver and helps you break down your lipids. And so what it does is it takes some stress off of the liver, helps cleanse it. And what do we notice when our liver is not so sluggish or working so hard? We have more energy, less bloating, and better digestion and energy overall. So I actually like the taste of apple cider vinegar, so I just have it in a little bit of water in like a shot glass. Some people can't stand the taste and have to have it in capsules. All right, so while we're talking about the liver, let's talk about a couple more of my favorite ways to support cleansing the liver. And here are, you can tell we like NAC in this house. We have multiple brands. Here's one by Pure and one by Vital Nutrients. For both of these, the serving size is 600 milligrams. So on a daily basis, I take 600 milligrams. If I'm using it to help raise glutathione when I think I'm getting sick, or I'm trying to break up mucus, NAC is great at breaking up mucus, then I'll take more. Kids can take this as well. If they can't swallow a supplement, you can put it in something like eggs. NAC does not taste great, so you can't just sprinkle it over kids' food. They'll know and they won't like it. And the reason that we take NAC, and you'll see this over and over in the treatment options also in our clinical environmental medicine book, you will see that NAC is used to detoxify everything from metals, including mercury, cadmium. You can use it to help remove lead, arsenic. It is used to remove polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are in fuels. And it is used to reduce the toxins from solvents, which is in things like paint, and it's used to remove pesticides and antimicrobials. So NAC is something you want to have in your back pocket as a treatment for anybody who you feel has a higher toxic burden. That's why we have multiple bottles of it in our home. And as I mentioned, we take it not just to detoxify, but it's also great at breaking up mucus in the times when people are sick, and it helps you make glutathione. So why don't we just take glutathione? Because we don't want our liver to stop making glutathione. We have glutathione as well. Glutathione is the body's strongest and best antioxidant. It's very important that we have this in sufficient amounts in our liver so that it can remove toxins from the body. But we don't want to take this all the time, or our liver says, oh, I don't have to make as much glutathione anymore. And that's not good. We want to keep our liver making its own glutathione, and that's why we often take NAC and help our liver make more glutathione. However, if you're doing a cleanse, or you're starting to have symptoms that make you feel like you are having a higher toxic burden than usual, it may be time to do a glutathione cleanse. I often take this myself or have my patients take it for up to 6 weeks and then take a break. Again, you need to make sure your system is moving and you're properly eliminating before you put someone on strong detoxifiers such as glutathione. All right, now, oh, this is something I know you'll like, Grace, is we love baking, and we don't want artificial colors in our food, but we want our food to be pretty, right? Grace, why don't we want artificial colors in our food? Because it has chemicals. So red 40, yellow 1, blue this, they are chemicals, and they confuse the body and change how our bodies act. They also can affect the brain. There's quite a few studies, books and books and journals of studies on how artificial colors affect our brains. Some of them can pass the blood-brain barrier because they're chemicals and our body does not understand them. They are not natural, they are toxicants rather than a natural something that could hurt us, which would be a toxin. And so we're finally starting to see in our country a change in what's allowed as far as artificial colors. Red 40 has to be out of our products in the next 2 years. It's finally been banned. But do you know that it's been banned in skincare for 30 years? So we've known that Red 40 is dangerous for your body. It's an endocrine disruptor. It can increase the risk of cancer. It affects your brain, so it makes ADHD worse. It can affect autism and make symptoms around that worse. We've known this for 30 years, and yet it was just in the last 5 months that it got banned. So it's really important that you advocate for yourself and advocate for your patients, because we can't just trust what our food tells us, what marketers tell us, what big companies tell us. They're trying to make lots of money. And some companies really do care about us. And some just don't have all the facts. There's a mix, right? So what we like to do to be able to bake and have fun, pretty food is we use natural ingredients to do so. For example, it was just St. Patrick's Day. We use matcha to make our green eggs, for green eggs and ham. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use chlorella or spirulina to dye things green or blue. And I really love the brand Raw Nice. It's out of Europe, that creates beautiful colors all completely naturally. Like the black comes from charcoal. The pink comes from pitaya or dragon fruit. And I should mention, Europe is ahead of us on protecting bodies from toxic ingredients. They ban over 2,000 ingredients in their skincare and food that we don't. So that's an area that we need to catch up on. All right, so let's talk a little bit about protecting ourselves from toxins in the environment that were not necessarily imposed on by people, although there's a combination. For example, we just had the horrific fires in Los Angeles, and the amount of particulate matter in the air was very dangerous for many, many people. Some people are still experiencing respiratory issues, brain fog, disorientation, because of the amount of toxins that got into their systems. So as I mentioned earlier, filters, plants, staying inside when the toxins are very high, when there's active fires, floods, things like that going on. But afterward, how can you protect your body to not ingest as much of it? Well, I really love products like XLEAR, and Dr. Sabrina Kapersky talked about this as well. I like to call it Clear with an X. This is completely natural ingredients with inositol and grapefruit seed that help remove bacteria and viruses from your nasal tract. And in addition to that, I really like the Neomed Sinus Rinse. Now this is in a plastic bottle. You can also use the ceramic neti pot version, which is even cleaner. But with a family of 5, this is the one I can get all of us to use. And so it clears out those passages, so those toxins that are coming in from the environment can't stay there. Wonderful options for removing toxins. You can also use a nebulizer with NaC or glutathione, and that works even better in that it gets into your lungs, not just your upper respiratory tract. So you can order that through a doctor, but you can also get those online. Let's talk a little bit more about ways to reduce pain in the body. So a lot of times when we have too much toxic load in our body, it shows up as inflammation. We get painful joints, we get brain fog, we get headaches, sinus issues. So one very natural way that you can reduce these symptoms is by increasing blood flow in the body and changing the amount of immune system function by doing things like sweating a lot, doing sauna, or alternating sauna and cold plunge. That changes how the vessels of the body are moving, reacting, getting smaller, getting larger, and that flushes your blood. It also flushes the lymph. So these are wonderful ways to detox. But you can also take a supplement And sweetie, I see that you're yawning. You don't have to stand here with me unless you want to talk about anything else you like to do to detoxify your body. Thank you. So I grabbed this one, Protocol for Life Balance Ache Action, because I absolutely love the ingredients in it for reducing pain. And the main one is white willow extract. So if you don't already know this, this is an important one. Aspirin comes from white willow bark. Aspirin is a constituent, one part of this really wonderful herb. So for many people, simply taking this really wonderful herb that is natural can help reduce pain without the side effects of aspirin. And so considering white willow bark, it has ginger. Again, ginger is something, as soon as I eat it, I just notice that I start to feel better, less inflamed, stomach feels better, less bloating. And this also has boswellia, Indian frankincense, which similarly is fantastic at reducing inflammation. So for you or your patients who are taking too many painkillers, this is a wonderful option to help reduce and balance that out. And we often don't associate inflammation and pain with a need to detoxify, but when our body is fighting the chemicals or metals or dealing with the changes in hormones due to endocrine disruptors, that shows up as swelling in joints, swelling in our passages, changes in our vasculature that can cause pain and headaches. So just a couple more to share with you here. I didn't share this earlier, but this is a avoidance tool. This should be in the first video, where your home products that you use to clean your home, if you can make sure that those are natural ingredients or as close to as possible, using, citrus and oils and healthy gums to break up dirt and grime rather than using chemicals, that is so much better for your body, because you don't get all the residue from the chemicals on your plates and bowls and forks and spoons, and on your clothes, as far as laundry detergent as well. So really important to consider the products that you use in the home. And this is where I will say, sometimes you need to have a natural-ish approach, right? Someone else in the house might only like to use the chemical version because it's the best at getting grease off the plates. Well, it's okay to keep that around, in my opinion, if you want to use it once in a while for those really greasy, oily meals, but the rest of the time, use the cleaner product. And things like deodorant. If you can help it, on a regular basis, use natural products or don't use deodorant at all. But on days when you're giving a lecture or you're nervous and need a little extra support, maybe that's the one day in the month that you use that deodorant product. So again, that goes back to avoidance a bit. But so we avoid where we can, and then we help our bodies detoxify when avoiding wasn't possible. These are some of my favorite proteins. We don't often think of protein as helping with detoxification, but when your body is strong and supported, your muscles are strong and your brain function is high, that tells your body to relax. You are safe, you are strong, and then you are in a parasympathetic state, which means that you can rest, digest, heal, and detox. When we have too much sugar or unnatural ingredients, such as the syrups in soda, our body is confused. It can often go into a higher cortisol, higher stress state, and then our body thinks that we're running from a bear, and it is not trying to focus on detoxifying and making our skin stronger and our hair happier and our nails longer. It is focused on just trying to keep us alive, and then we actually pack on more weight. We get more inflammation because our body's trying to protect us, but it goes overboard. And that's often when we end up with autoimmune conditions. So just having more protein is not the only key to reducing autoimmune concerns, but there is a strong connection between a diet high in sugar or processed carbs and an influx or higher level of Hashimoto's antibodies, higher cortisol, more dysregulation with sugar, insulin, and as a result, female hormones, right? So one of the most common ways to treat PCOS is to change the diet, which then changes the hormones. So protein is very important. Look at the sources that you're getting it from. We like to use vegan sources, but if you're using meat, just look for organic. And collagen, you can get a marine source, or just the amino acids, which can be vegetarian, or you can do a organic bone source as well. And I brought this out. I don't use this, but my husband does. I wanted to share this because one of the areas where a lot of people get confused is they'll say, I don't eat dairy. Dairy gives me inflammation or causes sinus issues or makes my eczema worse. So I don't eat dairy. But then I'll ask them what they put in their protein shakes, and they tell me that they use whey protein. Whey is a protein in milk. So you'll see this over and over with family, friends, patients, that they will think they're not getting any dairy and they're actually getting dairy in their shake every single day. So if you are trying to be dairy free, the whey needs to leave the vicinity. You can also consider hemp protein, chia seed protein, pea protein. And I mentioned ways to increase B12 because that is what I see often low in labs. Also vitamin D, which you can get in drops if you have a harder time getting it in sources of food such as eggs or salmon, or from the sunlight. A lot of people are deficient in vitamin D even if they get tons of sunlight. So with vitamin D, I tend to supplement. I like orthomolecular. It's just a drop. 1 drop a day. I do that for myself, and I put it in my kids' smoothies a couple times a week, and I know they're getting enough vitamin D. The other one that is very low for many people, but can also be high for others, so it's important to actually test and find out, is iron. So for some people, they need to avoid iron. Maybe they're a hemochromatosis carrier. It can raise inflammation if iron's too high, but on the flip side of that, for people who are anemic and need to increase their iron, you can do so in meat sources. You can also do so with apricots, spinach, but I also really like to use organic wheatgrass, and there is not gluten in wheatgrass, or there shouldn't be, because of when it's harvested. So this is a gluten-free product. It helps raise iron a little, but it really helps raise ferritin. So that's why I wanted to tell you about it, because sometimes people have normal iron, but really low ferritin, which means that the iron that they're taking or getting in their food isn't transferring into the saved form of iron that is used in our heme or our blood to actually give us strength. And so wheatgrass is one of the ways that you can increase ferritin without highly increasing iron. I'd like to share that my kids and myself, we all really love tea, and my kids love mint tea. Mint tea is very healing, very detoxifying, and it's cooling. They love to drink it before bed. I'm just so happy that I have kids that like tea and they don't put honey or anything else in it. The one thing to keep in mind is mint can relax the lower esophageal sphincter. So anybody who has acid reflux or GERD, they actually don't want to drink mint tea. And a lot of people get that confused. So organic mint tea, one of my favorites for my kids. We also like chamomile. In the daytime, I really like matcha chai. This is mud water, a nice alternative to coffee. If you're trying to reduce or recommending to your patient that they reduce their caffeine or avoid it altogether, a matcha chai with lion's manes, cordyceps, chaga, reishi, those are all wonderful mushrooms for health, to give vitality and energy, help with brain function as an alternative to coffee. And at night, there's the rest, which also has turkey tail and reishi mushrooms, but it has valerian, passion flower, turmeric, cinnamon, ashwagandha, and chamomile, some of my favorite herbs for calming and relaxing. So at night, when you're resting alone, or you've stopped studying, you're watching a movie or reading a book with your kids, if you're watching a movie, you have your blue light glasses on, a cup of this instead of wine or drink, or a soda or lemonade or something is a wonderful idea. And I'm a huge fan of turmeric. This is Fiji Joe turmeric, an organic turmeric that a friend of mine harvests in Fiji, and really supports the community there. This is great to use for coloring food and baking items. And I put it in food, water, tea. It tastes great and it feels amazing for detoxifying. And lastly, we can't all make fancy meals all the time. We run out of time. I'm a big fan of having grabbable food. And so grabbable food that you can trust for you, your family, your patients is really important. So organic seaweed, kind of like the chlorella and the spirulina, fabulous for you, high in iodine. This is a wonderful option to give kids in their lunch boxes instead of Cheetos or options like that. And so I just wanted to share that. And, you know, I'm someone who, if I forget to eat, by the time I realize I'm hungry, my blood sugar's gotten too low, and then I want to eat everything. So having healthy snacks and also some high protein snacks around is very beneficial to keeping your energy up so that you can make good choices with what you put in your body, which helps you stay strong and helps you detoxify. So I hope you've enjoyed this segment on environmental medicine and how to cleanse your body using the products you have at home and the tools that you have in your body and in your mind. Thank you. Thank you for all your help, cuties.
And what did that say? Cut.